Welcome, AP Psychology students. Today's video is going to be about Module 41. We're talking about theories of emotion and how physiology relates to emotion. So, pretty interesting stuff. Key things I want to focus on in this video is looking at the three major theories of emotion, and those are all going to get into how arousal, like physical arousal, and behaviors kind of interact together. We'll get into the details of that here in a minute. So that's going to be the main focus. We'll get into some of these other ones here a little bit if you want to read through those, but here we go. So, the textbook definition of an emotion is a response of the whole organism, which means person or animal or whatever. So you're going to have physiological arousal, so changes in your body, so like heartbeat, sweaty, about burst into an Eminem song there, knees, mom spaghetti, whatever. But so a response of the whole organism, you got the arousal, the behavior, and then the conscious experience, so like the acknowledgement of the emotion. There's a clear beginning and end. Some of them are good, some of them are positive, some of them are negative. And then these are going to, the emotions are going to affect our behavior affects our emotions. It's kind of a two-way street. So the key question with these theories of emotion is, what's the order of the way you feel, the way you act, and what your body does? So does your heart pound because you're afraid, or are you afraid because you feel your heart pounding? Now, the obvious answer is going to be the first one. However, there is some research to suggest that the second one can be true sometimes as well. So with that, let's look at the three main theories. The first theory of emotion is called the James Lange theory. And what they're saying here is that the way we experience emotion, it's due to our awareness of physiological responses or changes. So in this example, our running example of like an impending car crash, a car is coming at you, you perceive a stimulus, something in your environment, that causes your heart to pound, and then that in turn causes the fear. So you're afraid because your heart pounds, not necessarily because of the sight of the oncoming car. This is leading to this, which is leading to the fear. It sounds kind of ridiculous, but again, we'll kind of get into some evidence throughout this unit that maybe points to the idea that maybe it's not completely wrong. For this to be true, though, each individual emotion would have to have at least subtly different physiological responses, meaning the way that your body reacts to anger would have to be different than the way your body reacts to excitement or joy. And the jury's still kind of out on that. There's still kind of a debate in the psychological community, but it's definitely one to think about. The second one is the Canon Bard theory of emotion. So what we're saying here is that the car is coming at you, you're experiencing things, and then simultaneously your heart pounds, or you have the physiological response, and you have the fear. Key thing here, they're simultaneous, but in this theory, they're saying that the heart pounding and the fear, they don't really need each other. They're just two separate things. So they're saying that you don't need to have the pounding heart to have the fear. And you don't need to have the fear to have the pounding heart. So you have to kind of ask yourself, like, would you truly feel the same kind of fear if you didn't have the physical response, if you didn't have your heart pounding or your breathing changed or whatever? I'm not quite sure about this one, but this is, one of those main theories. My favorite theory, and yes, I'm a psychology teacher, so I can say, even if it's a little bit nerdy, that I have a favorite theory of emotion. So this is the Schachter two-factor theory of emotion. So what we're saying here is you perceive the stimulus, in this example, the car is coming at you, and then your heart pounds, you have the physical response, and then at the same time, you experience what's called a cognitive label. That's just fancy psychology talk for you label the situation, you think about the situation, you appraise it. Is this good? Is this bad? So in this example, the car is coming at you, heart's pounding. At the same time, you're like, oh, this isn't good, this is bad. And these two things together create the fear. Now, this isn't really a great example for how you change your cognitive label, because there's really, in my mind, not really a way of thinking about this situation differently. It's not like, okay, the car's coming at me, my heart's pounding, and then I think of myself, ooh, really, this is a great opportunity for growth for me. It doesn't really work. But in other aspects of our life, something happens to you, you feel your heart pounding in it, but if you change the way you think of it, so maybe you're getting ready to take a test and you're getting ready to walk into the room. You can kind of feel yourself, your palms are sweating, your heart's pounding. And maybe you say to yourself, your cognitive label is, oh man, this is going to be bad. I'm going to fail it. Oh, this is awful. Or you could think of it as, this is my body kind of preparing me to be ready for this challenge. This is excitement. And, this doesn't happen overnight, and this isn't going to work easily 100% of the time. But the bottom line is, if you can change the way you think, you can oftentimes change the way you feel. And this is basically a large premise for the entire idea of therapy, is if we can get you to think differently about the world around you, that can make you feel differently. If you just change the way you label a situation, you can go from fear or anxiety or depression to something more positive. Again, it's not as easy as just snapping your fingers and doing that, but it's a really powerful idea that if you change the way you think, you change the way you feel. A few other things, here's kind of a practice one, so I'll click pause and let you look at it and see if we can come back and go over it. Okay, so it says, imagine that an intruder has just invaded your home. Describe how each of the 3 theories of emotion might explain the process of emotions you would feel. So James Lange theory, someone breaks in your house, maybe you hear the glass break or whatever, your heart starts pounding and you say, oh my gosh, I'm scared. Or, you could say, oh, I'm angry, depending on what happened. But the important thing here is they would say that the physical response would dictate the emotion. So if your heart pounds a certain way, that means fear. If your body reacts a different way, then that would create anger. Canon would say you hear it, and then at the same time your heart beats, and then you feel the emotion of fear or anger. But they're 2 separate things. Schachter two-factor would say you hear the glass break, someone breaks in. Your body reacts, but then you attach a cognitive label to it. And it might be different depending on the person. If you're someone who is worried about, okay, this person's going to hurt me or whatever, you might feel really fearful. But if you're someone who's like, oh man, I'm going to destroy this person, then you feel anger. So again, depending on how you think about the situation, the way you cognitively label it, that's going to dictate how you feel. It's going to dictate your emotion. I think that's a good place to stop. I think I might do the rest of this in another video just to kind of split it up. So good place to stop. These are a little tricky. So you're going to see some practice stuff in the lessons. Be careful. They're trickier than you think, but we'll probably have a part 2 for this section as well. Okay, sounds good. Thanks, guys.